Without a doubt, the two questions we at Little Fish get asked the most is around cost and time. So in this video, I'm going to lift up the hood on a dual occupancy project that we completed for a client in 2019. I'm going to share all the project's timing and costs, including the eventual result as far as profit and the client's return on investment. Let's get into it. What's up guys, Peter Kelly here from Little Fish Property Developments, helping you maximise the value of your land and generate wealth through low-risk residential development projects. Now before we sink our teeth into the project particulars, I think it's important to note that our client purchased the site while the Melbourne property market was high and we needed to sell the dwellings in a lower market, which you will see on the timeline when we get to that part of the video. The reason I wanted to mention this now is because I want to make it clear that you should be able to make money no matter where you are in the market cycle. Let's break down 37 Mount Street, Altona. It was a side-by-side dual occupancy site with an east-west orientation. It was approximately 780 square metres with about a 15 metre frontage and a depth of about 50 metres. I also want to point out that the south neighbour was set off the boundary, which helped us maximise the site as there were no shadowing issues. Ultimately, we were able to build two 30 square monsters, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and each had a lock-up garage. Before we get into the numbers, let's look at the project's timeline. While you are consuming it on the screen, I want to give you some perspective around the project. When our clients purchased the property, their initial plan was to rent it out with a thought they may develop it one day, which happened much sooner than they thought. They stumbled across our website one evening and the rest is history. It's important to note that around the time when the construction finance was required, the Banking Royal Commission was happening, so attaining finance was proving difficult for our clients. In the end, we looped them in with our broker who helped them secure the finance. This did cost them a little bit of time. I also wanted to touch on the importance that all subdivision requirements are met timely throughout the construction process, so that the new title registrations are done either prior to construction completion or at the very latest in parallel. Thanks to the hard work of our team here at Little Fish, all the subdivision requirements were met in plenty of time. It guaranteed that settlement with the buyers was achieved within 14 days of the project completion, meaning they got their capital back, saw their profit sooner, and ready to roll into the next project. Now you've got some perspective around the timing, let's get into the numbers. Let's start with the costs. For the purpose of this exercise, I've broken the costs down into 7 categories: the purchase, early development, middle development, construction, marketing, holding, bank interest, and completion. First up, the early development costs. These were the costs incurred from the point in which we took the project on, or in most cases, from the purchase date, right through to town planning approval. So essentially in this case, all of the costs for the first 8 months. These costs included the deposit for our project management services, the land surveying, which is the re-establishment and features and levels survey, and the drafting and planning costs. Next is the middle development costs. These were all the costs incurred from the planning permit approval right up to construction. They include the demolition, construction documentation, the interior design package, and the planner subdivision application. It also includes the new power pit that was required and all the service connections such as the NBN, telecommunication, and your new water connections. Our Stage 2 PM invoice for achieving town planning approval was also paid at this point. Then it was the construction costs. All of our construction contracts are fixed price and are full turnkey, so it includes everything you can think of from the landscaping to the letterboxes, clotheslines, and everything in between. It also included some additional funds for earthworks after we hit some rock. Nothing too crazy or unexpected, but there were some costs incurred. Our Stage 3 PM invoice for construction commencement was also paid at this point after we had ran the full tender process, engaged the builder, arranged the building permit, and he had started on site. Next up were the marketing costs. These were some costs for the marketing assets to support the sales campaign. It included some 3D renders, the hoarding and marketing banner, the custom brochure design, and the printing. Next was the bank interest, or your holding costs. For this project, the client was able to have the bank interest capitalised, which essentially meant the interest was accrued over the duration of the project and paid in full from the proceeds of the sales when they were settled at the end, so when the loan was closed out. And finally, we had some completion costs, which included the agent sale commissions and the portal listings, which were also paid at settlement of the 2 sales. There were some minor settlement costs, and the final payment for the project was our Stage 4 PM invoice that was due on the completion of the project. As shown on the timeline earlier in the video, both properties were sold off the plan and and the new titles were registered timely. So the properties were able to be settled with the buyers 14 days after receiving both the certificate of occupancy and the new titles. If your goal is to maximize your financial return, then this is exactly how you want the end of the project to go. Key is to settle with your buyers as soon as possible so you can get your money sooner, pay down your debt, and roll into your next project. This case study proves you can make money in good and bad markets, as long as you make smart decisions and don't overcapitalize. This Mount Street project wasn't without its complications either, which is why we chose to do a case study on it. Not only was it purchased at the top of the market and sold near the bottom, but there were issues with getting the required finance. The Banking Royal Commission was happening at the time, and the banks had tightened their lending. So there were legitimate and significant time and cost implications, which would have negatively impacted the bottom line. But through old-fashioned hard work, the power of knowledge, highly refined systems, processes, and efficiencies, it still ended up a successful and profitable project for our clients. The buyers were happy, the clients were happy, which meant we were happy. The key to becoming a successful developer is all about patience and discipline. Your goal isn't to retire on your first development. You want to get in the game at a level that you aren't overexposed financially, so you can begin to grow your capital with minimal risk. It's no secret that money makes money, so get on the developing merry-go-round and start growing your capital one project at a time. Worry less about market cycles and focus more on learning, relationships, networks, and efficiencies. Because if you do, you'll look back on your journey and be able to appreciate how good it's been to you. I'm Peter Kelly. Until next time, happy developing.